and gentlemen, as an encore, we have with us this afternoon none other than the newly crowned president of Netball Jamaica, Miss Karen Rosen Baugh, here again with us on John Sports Corner. And the last time it was so much fun, and I'm telling you, we're gonna up the scale this evening as John is gonna take it away and reintroduce our special guest, Miss Karen Rosen Baugh.
Thank you so much, Trevor. And once again, a very good afternoon to our friends and family out there. Thank you for visiting and staying with John's Sports Corner on the SosoBone Media Network, the global Caribbean media capital. Before my special guest, Miss Karen Rosen Baugh, joins us, the newly elected Netball Jamaica president, let me remind you to go to Winner's Circle Radio Store in the SosoBone shop and get a gift from the shop. There are t-shirts there, backpacks, of course, mugs, sorrel, and the great Jamaica Blue Mountain Coffee.
Oh, yes.
Karen, welcome once more to John Sports Corner, and may I say officially, congratulations, Madam President.
Yes.
Thank you so much. That shop sound good though. I need to go check it out.
Before the election, I read where you hope to get people with integrity supporting you. Are you satisfied with your staff?
So they're not staff, they're members of the board, just like myself. But yes, at the end of the elections, I was pleased with the composition of the board. I feel that we have a team that is demonstrates integrity so far, so good. It's been a short 3.5 weeks since the elections, even though it feels like 3.5 years. But I think we have a mix of talents that will be good for netball and for netball in Jamaica. And yes, I don't have any concerns about integrity at this time.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but your support staff is Simone Forbes, first vice president, Dwayne Godsmore, second vice president, Elaine Walters, treasurer, with board members Tashik Salmon, Derek Brown, Karen Winstanley, Suzette Townsend, Denise Palmer, and Carleen Waugh.
Yes, unfortunately though, our treasurer has since withdrawn because of illness. So
Mm,
we are gonna have to either do an EGM to fill the position because it is an elected position. You can't fill it. If it was a regular director, you could fill it casually, but treasurer can't be done in that way. So it will either have to be an extraordinary general meeting or at the next AGM, because remember, we're still due another AGM this year. The last one was to catch up from a couple of years without an AGM. So we're just trying to, catch our bearings and then manage that. But in the meantime, the previous treasurer was elected as a director. So she has stepped in to help to manage the financial affairs and to continue on the route to completing the 2 financial years that we still have outstanding. And then we'll move forward from there.
Who will take your position as a marketing and sponsorship person?
Well, I'll still be heavily involved in marketing and sponsorship, but Tashik Salmon will now head our marketing committee. So I'm in the process of handing over and, getting her involved at a high level with some of the sponsorship contracts and conversations that are going on. But the president is an ex officio member of all of our committees. And marketing is always going to be near and dear to my heart. So it's going to be impossible for me to completely leave it alone. But there's many other things that are on the plate now. So I definitely have to transition a bit away from it. But so far we've both been working on it. To to be fair, I've still been working mostly on it while we did the handover because we're in such an intense period right now of everything that's going on with netball.
Mm. Let us get down to the brass tacks now and the Youth World Cup in Gibraltar, which scheduled for September 19th through the 28th.
Yes.
How are preparations going for that?
So preparations for the team have been going well. The squad should be named between today and tomorrow, the final team. As far as I understand it, the selectors have completed their job. They were given a timeline of Monday gone. And so it's just for the names to come to the board for ratification. The girls have been in camp for almost 2 months. They're gonna take a break for this weekend for about a week, and then they come back into camp right through to when we depart. So preparations under coach Annette Daly and assistant coach Nadia Hansen have been going well. They train, several times a week. When they're in camp, they either go to gym or they're training. So it's been pretty intense for them. Where we've been having a challenge is in the fundraising still, but we're hopeful that will sort itself out in another week or two.
Yeah, because funding, I guess, is still an issue in
Always.
getting the team to Gibraltar. Now, I understand the team is made up of 12 and 3
Reserves.
reserves or something like
Yes.
that.
Yes, that's the
And
new
you're trying to get the 15 to
We're
Gibraltar.
trying first to get the 12, and then we work on the 15. So we will name 15. It's just whether 15 will travel. So we'll name the 12 and the 3 reserves. So every country has the option of bringing their reserves or not bringing them, but you name them from this stage. And then depending on the funding, then we'll see how that works out in terms of carrying the full 15 to Gibraltar. Now remember, the reserves can only come into play if a player has to withdraw because of injury or some other dramatic occurrence. So it can't be a case of substitution. Somebody definitely has to withdraw or be withdrawn from a team for you to call on one of the reserves. So it's an option that countries decide how to manage.
And I started off by asking you about how preparations going, because I thought I read a few weeks ago that preparations were hampered by some of the ladies taking final exams and at both high school and college. And so
I'm not sure about that because they've passed it. We're in July now, and they finish exams from May and June. So maybe that was an
Okay.
earlier interview. The last time the coach spoke, though, she did talk about use of the indoor court and wanting them to spend more time on the indoor court. And so we've got some assistance where that is concerned, as well as made some adjustments to ensure that will be so going through to when they leave.
Will you be playing maybe warm-up games against maybe another international team before going to Gibraltar?
I doubt that very much. So we definitely won't be going anywhere to play any warm-up games because any money we have will be going toward getting them to Gibraltar. And the thing is, most countries who have qualified, a lot of the countries are in this, a similar position as us. Not most, but some of them, because Gibraltar is pretty expensive in terms of getting there and accommodation, because it's essentially a tourist destination. So everybody, it's a big ticket item for every country who has qualified. So I don't think anybody is traveling around to do any practice matches maybe when we get to Gibraltar, but not before we leave. So we are arranging. What we've been doing is arranging different senior level teams to play against the girls, to give them that match practice. They participate in the elite league for that reason, and also in the major league of the divisional leagues in May, June, for that reason. They will not have any official practice matches with other countries.
How much is it to per person then? And
get
let's
to
talk
Gibraltar.
US dollars to go to Gibraltar.
Let me convert that. It's about 2.9. It's about $500,000 Jamaican dollars. So let me do a quick calculation. Me and maths is not friend. Are not that close friends. But let me use 500,000. Let me use 161. Yes, about $3,000 US. It's about 293 per ticket return. So multiply that by it's about 6 million Jamaican dollars, 6.5 actually.
And that includes hotel
No,
accommodation.
that's not travel. That's just airfares.
Okay.
It's just the airfare. The government, so it's about 40,000 US for the airfare alone. For the team and the coaches and the physio and the traveling party. Yes.
So
Accommodation has mostly been covered, thankfully, by the government. So we because you have to book that and pay that ahead of time, because it's also I think Gibraltar Independence. There's some holiday there around that time that they usually get a lot of tourists for. So there was some pressure there to say, hey, you need to complete that booking now. So the government has covered most of that for us. We've covered some, and the government covered some of it. And there's still a small portion to pay once you settle off exactly, because people book and cancel and move around. But yeah, that does not include accommodation or meals or ground transportation. That's just travel. So you understand the challenge. Why the last 3 weeks have been so stressful.
I see why you are the president.
But we had good news. I don't know if you saw that yesterday. The Supreme Ventures Foundation donated $5 million to the girls, so to the under 21 team. So we got a good chunk of it out of the way. We just need two more sponsors like that, and we're up and running. or 10 at half of that. I don't know. We'll take it any way it comes.
People like Separate and Cement Company and
yeah. Well, we're reaching out everywhere you can think of. So who answers the call?
But when you get to Gibraltar now, will you have like a warm-up game before the tournament begins?
So what typically happens is, so they'll get there about a week before the tournament starts, so for them to get acclimatized, and we are trying to see if we can arrange with teams who are not in our pool. See if some of that can happen. So, but that is over with the coaching staff organizing that. So hopefully we will have at least one of those. But when we went to the last World Cup, some of that did take place, the last Senior World Cup. So obviously you're not going to be playing teams who are in your pool, but the teams who are outside of your pool, all the teams kind of work between each other and arrange practice games. So that's typical.
When is the departure date?
It's we're wanting to leave on the 10th of September.
That's September 10th.
Yes. So if you know anybody who wants to pay for a ticket for a girl or two, just give them a number.
Yes.
And one girl at a time. That's my motto. One girl at a time.
I was looking at the draw, and I think the draw you're in Pool C with England, Tonga, Wales, and Sri Lanka.
Yes.
Other than England, do you know much about the other teams in the draw?
Not a lot, and it's very hard to know about the teams because it's your under 21 team, and there's not a lot of play that goes on between countries, or the teams tend to be formed for the World Cup, and then they kind of transition to the senior team, or you never play two under 21 World Cups. So no, outside of South Africa came and played us in January when their senior team came. So they're the only ones we really know anything much about in terms of, having got good sight of them and could see what they're capable of, and they were pretty good. But no, we haven't seen much. You can go online and look up, because everybody has YouTube videos and stuff, but that's
Yeah.
probably about it.
And Jamaica opens against Tonga.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Then the top two from each pool advances to
Advance, yes.
to the to what they call
To the
that now, the playoff round, the knockout round, is that?
You don't go knock off right away. You go into a pool and play again, and then you go to the knock off round.
The last Youth World Netball World Cup was 2017,
Yes.
with New Zealand, Australia, and England occupying the top three places.
Yes.
COVID knocked you out of 2021.
Yes.
So you really don't have a measure of the
Very hard. Very hard. And one of the things so during COVID, our youth programs, kind of fell by the wayside. Because obviously, in particular, you couldn't gather, and for young people and people over a certain age, there were some more strict rules. So we literally put together this team. This is the people that we've been calling them the forgotten, the forgotten girls. The girls who did half of their high school in front of a virtually in front of a computer, and missing some of that physical interaction. So we've actually had to work pretty hard to put this team back together. They did exceptionally well at the qualifiers, and we had to go to qualifiers because if you're ranked below 6, then you have to go to qualifiers, and because we replaced the previous under-21 World Cup, we had to go to qualifiers. And it was a tough qualifier. Typically, we just kind of roll through qualifiers, or we don't have to participate because we're so highly ranked. It was a tough qualifiers for us, but we came out on top. I was very nervous at one point. Trinidad and Barbados actually performed pretty well, and we were just, putting the team back together. So they hadn't fully gelled at that point, but they still managed to come out on top. So we're pretty proud of them.
And Trinidad and Barbados joined Jamaica
Yes.
to represent the Americas region.
Right. So they came second and third.
No, New Zealand and Australia seem to be ruling the championships over the years.
Definitely under 21. Nobody but them has ever won it.
Yeah. How do we break that stranglehold? I think Jamaica came second one year.
We did.
Runners up, yeah.
Yeah, we did. We came second one year. We came third one year. We came second in
I think 2000 we were second.
Yes. The stranglehold.
Based on what you have seen so far, Karen, with our youngsters, are any of them ready for the senior team?
I would say yes, there are one or two. There's one in particular, but I wouldn't do that I wouldn't call any names at this
don't
point.
call any
That would
names.
just be my personal opinion. But yes, there are one or two who are at a pretty high level that I could see transitioning very soon. Maybe not ready tomorrow, but transitioning very soon to the senior team for sure.
Let us come back home now. And
Yes.
have you mapped out your first year goals yet?
I have. And they haven't changed, even though the last 3 weeks have been a lot has fallen into the plate in overnight. But one of the first things we definitely still have our eye on is working with the parish organizations. Well, trying to see where there are fledgling ones, and there is one that is already formed and has applied for membership, and we're going to be working with them, so we'll be announcing that soon. I know the board has some work to do in the next day or two so that I can announce that, but we have one already ready to go. And then it's for us, we had our first board meeting already. The week after the elections, we had our first board meeting and started forming our committees, the ones we had before, and to see if we needed, because of our strategic objectives, see if there are any ones that were missing, and there was, and there's an additional one which was added. But under one of those committees will be a subcommittee for to work on the parish organizations. So our next board meeting will be next week Saturday, and then everybody should come back with their the terms of the committee. We appointed heads to the main committees, and for them to start filling out their teams. And the teams don't have to come just from the board. As a matter of fact, that's the beauty of those committees, that you can engage people from outside the board to work on particular projects or plans. And so we'll start that work. We also want to be having a retreat in another few months, once we kind of settle down and be more specific about our strategic objectives with some timelines and assignments for the next 6 to 12 months.
Talk a little bit about the recent Fast Five Championships, a mixed gender competition played ahead of the Elite League final.
It actually went very well. Could have had a little bit more crowd, in terms of people coming to watch. I think people were curious, wasn't quite sure what it was about. But we decided when we were planning the Elite League, and we knew that we were having a shorter season than usual because we would only have 4 teams plus the under 21s. We wanted to do something different, to bring something a little different to the netball community and to the netball scene. One of the things, so we started planning it first without really planning that it would include men. And in the conversation, in the planning, we said, well, why don't we do it this way? Because one of 2 things have happened. World Netball has recently announced that there will be a men's World Cup in another few years. So they are moving to be more inclusive of men in the playing of netball, even though men have been playing netball for years and years and years, as you know. And there are men's teams in Jamaica. They have their own league, they have their own association. And so one of the things we have to work on is how to align with them and bring them in the fold, because there can only be one governing body, whether it's male or female, for the sports. So we're working on that. But I think sometimes people just don't understand enough about the men's game, and so we thought if we did some a mixed competition, and in that competition it was Fast Five, so Fast Five rules, World Netball Fast Five rules, and each team had to have 2 men, but they weren't allowed to play in the same area, third of the court, just to manage their strength versus women. They play a very athletic game, very high jumping, moving game. So we thought that went really well, and we plan to do it again next year.
So you just said something that kind of caught my ear. Are the rules for men netball different to women? Are you playing under the same rules?
It's exactly the same. The rules I was referring to was the Fast Five rules. The Fast Five rules are a little bit different from the sevens, from regular netball. So we played Fast Five rules, but they're exactly the same for men and women.
How many teams in the Elite League?
This year it was 4, 5 if you include the under 21s. But as the under 21s were playing for practice, so we didn't allow them to go through to the playoffs. Even though they did beat 2 of the elite teams, so that should tell you something about their progress from when they played South Africa in January.
Jamaica, you have taken over an organization in which that is ranked 3rd in the world now.
Yes.
You can only look up. You have 2 hurdles to cross.
and the first hurdle is not that far. But when you come to this time of the year, so between the the big leagues, so meaning the leagues that are played in Australia and England and New Zealand, they all finish around this time. So the English league is finished. They had their winner, I think, last week or the week before. The New Zealand league, I think, finished last weekend, and the Suncorp Australian league will finish this weekend coming. And then after that, we move into the international season. So between about, you know, they all get a break. So between about October and January is when all of the international matchups happen. And it very much matters who plays who gets points over who, to see what the table will look like at the end. So we have 2 teams ahead of us. We have New Zealand, who are, I think, 5 points ahead of us. And then Australia is like 204 and we're 192. So like, yeah. So like more than 10 points ahead. But it depends on who plays who and who is ranked what when they play and who wins that game. Because you realize last year England started out as number 3 and we were number 4. And it wasn't just because we beat them that they slipped to number 4. It was also because they actually moved up to 2 for a while, because they beat New Zealand in their series, and then they went to Australia. No, they beat Australia, and then they New Zealand beat them. So it kind of, you know, mixes it all up. It's not just about who you play throughout in the period leading up to when they did the ranking calculation.
I know we have several players in the Suncorp League.
Yes.
But what about the league in England and New Zealand?
We have nobody in New Zealand. Their rules are a bit different from Australia. Their teams are only allowed a limited number of internationals, and some of that may be changing now. They've recently changed another one of their rules as well, to allow their players to play overseas and still be a part of their team, because previously they couldn't. And in the English league, we have 2 players, but those are 2 English-based players. In other words, they're not players who left Jamaica to go there. They're English players who play in that league, who play for Jamaica.
No, certainly congratulations to the Kingston Hummingbirds, the 2025 Netball Jamaica champions. Big game. When was it? Saturday, defeating the Manchester Spurs.
Yes, it was a great game.
Was that game streamed? Could you have seen that?
No, it was not, unfortunately. So unfortunately, our streaming partner for the last few years has been Sportsmax. And as you know, Sportsmax recently announced that they are withdrawing from that part of the business. So we just didn't have time to get that together. So we didn't have any streaming. So we're hoping that next year all of those things will be back on track. So now we have to look for a new broadcast partner.
Okay. No, Netball Jamaica closed 2025 with another 4-game series against England, the English Roses. First game December 6th and 7th, and I think the second game over in England, December 13th and 14th.
Yes.
I know last year Janelle didn't play.
Right.
In the series.
Janelle didn't play. Romelda had to come in at the last minute, actually, to replace her.
And I think Shimona Jack.
Shimona played in the series against South Africa. She didn't play against England.
Yeah, okay. Will Janelle be available for this?
Well, that's for the coach and the selectors to put together. Right now, Janelle is preparing for the finals of the Suncorp League, because her team is in the finals. The team that has 3 Jamaicans on it are in the finals. And then it will be for the coach to figure out who is available and for the selectors to do their work.
I was going to ask, the next World Championship, is in 2027
Yes, in
in a World
Australia.
Championship.
Yes.
If you think Janelle will be around and Romelda, but I saw where Romelda has announced her retirement
Well,
from the
today she
Suncore League.
announced her retirement from a Suncorp League. She hasn't made any announcement about international. I mean, typically people retire from international before they retire from club. But we'll see how that works out. We know she's game for anything. So we will be in conversations with her because she plays in the Suncorp League as well, or played in, and her season is now over.
Yeah.
Her team didn't make it to the finals. So again, that is for her and the coach to discuss. We have some ideas about what that should look like if she is available, but we can't talk about them just yet. But we're hoping to see her in the black, green, and gold even one more time. But we'll see. We'll see. We understand if it doesn't work out. She's had a long career and outstanding one. But we really would like to see her in the colors one more time.
To give her a send off.
There you go.
No, I know under the leadership of Marva Bernard, we had a Caribbean high school championship.
Yes.
Will that be back on the map as part of your plan?
Well, ironically, we do have some plans, not necessarily in the same way that Caribbean Championship worked out, because that was done when Marva was president of America's Netball. So it was a regional tournament that she had put together for the top high school team. The teams that won their local championship in each island were invited. So that would be for America's Netball to figure out if they can put that back together again. It does take some organization and funding from the same countries who are trying to find funding for other things. So, sometimes if you don't have the drive, it doesn't happen. We do have a local program that we call our Youth Summer Invitational. We did it last year for the first time, and we are doing it again this year. It happens in August. Last year, we invited the youth teams from Trinidad to come. They actually ended up not coming at the time they should have because of a hurricane, but they did come a little later, a couple of weeks later. And they played against some local high school teams, and one of those teams actually they played against our under 16, and we put together some high school teams as well. And one of those high school teams ended up winning the tournament, actually beating Trinidad. Well, none of the Trinidad teams actually made it to the finals. It was the high school team and our under 16, and the high school team won. This year, we're doing it again. We did invite high school teams. So it's good that you mentioned that. We didn't invite the national teams because one, we know everybody was preparing. Some of them were preparing for the under 20 World Cup and would be pressured to be able to send a team. So we invited high school teams, and there's one from Trinidad and I think from another country that will be here, along with some local high school teams, that in kind of like a pre-season tournament for us. And we also combine it with a coaching workshop, which is for the region. So it will be run here, but we have invited coaches from outside of Jamaica, and we've got really good response to the coaches workshop. And so the tournament running alongside it is important because that's where the coaches get to do some of the work, some of the practical work with those teams that are here. So that will take place at the end of August this year.
There is a Carifta games. You have Carifta swimming, Carifta gymnastics now. Why not Carifta netball?
That's a really good question, and I'm not ashamed to say I really don't know the answer to that one. It feels like it has never been a consideration. I don't know. I've never heard of any consideration being given to Carifta netball, or it being a part of the tournament of our playing programs. When there is a in the Eastern Caribbean, there are two tournaments that take place between the islands there. And there's an under 16 tournament that we participate in sometimes depending on funding. But it's never been a part of character. It's something I can look into, but it's a really good question. And I don't know the answer.
So hear this now. What would it take to organize a super league similar to the Suncore League in Jamaica?
Well, you know, John, that is exactly where our headspace is in terms of what our elite league should look like. We have invited teams from players, not teams, players from the region before. But again, everybody has a funding challenge because it would mean those players coming here and living here for at least 2 months to train and then to play in the league. And so our idea was that the teams here would recruit from the best in the region. If we have enough funding, then there's enough money to pay the player, because the semi-pro league, we do pay the players, but it's at stipend level right now. But the idea is that it would be obviously not at Suncore level, but at a higher level where you can afford to manage your accommodation and your meals and that sort of thing. It's not there right now. So if they are coming for the experience and to play against, top quality netball in the region, because Jamaica is ranked, much higher than the other countries in the region, then it's something that their federations probably would have to invest in and say, hey, I have a player or two. I'm going to fund them to come and be a part of a league, because the same way our girls go to Australia and come back better than when they left because of this period of intense, playing and being in a different environment, then we feel we should be that catalyst in the region to be providing that. So we have invited in the past. There have some who said, yes, we want to, we just can't afford it right now. But it's something we'll work towards. This year we had 2 overseas players in the league, one from Australia and one from England. But they essentially funded their way here. And then when they got here, they were paid the exact same way as everybody else. But they came for the experience, and I guess they were in a position to be able to afford to do it. But they had a whale of a time.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, we're on the same page where that is concerned. And as we build out the league, we're hoping to rebuild it and then move to another level. And that is one of the objectives.
Well, Karen, I don't know if Professor SosoBone has anything that he wants to ask you.
Professor, being quiet.
Because
I have been quietly listening, but I would like to know is, what would you like from the diaspora? Because in 2024, the position of the play of the team was well covered by the New York Times.
Yeah.
Okay, so the diaspora is aware that the team is well qualified, and my question, therefore, from a marketing perspective, what would you like to see happen in the diaspora so that when we have the next diaspora conference in Jamaica, they put you on the schedule to speak?
Yes.
To speak to all the candidates who are coming from the various diaspora regions, putting your industry or your sports category in front of them, okay? Because to be quite honest, you're far more successful than some of the other categories we have down there, except for track and field.
Track and field.
Okay, so the fact that you're not getting financing, the fact that we're not talking about them planning games that you can play when the cruise ship comes in, so that they can buy 3,000 tickets and bus people into what a netball game when the cruise ship comes in is I look at that as lazy on behalf of the Ministry of Sports and Tourism, in light of the fact that they are not marketing sports tourism for a popular team like yours.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right about the sports tourism aspect of it, and we've actually reached out to the Jamaica Tourist Board. They actually responded, and we are to meet with them. So we'll see where that takes us. I mean, they've provided sponsorship before to one of our qualifiers, but we want to take it to another level. And what some of the things you've just said is exactly where we need to go to get not just the local support and the international support, but the diaspora support, because we do know that the diaspora supports the Sunshine Girls. When you look on our pages, when we have any tournaments, when you post anything, when you see where the comments are coming from and the expressions of support, a lot of it is coming from the diaspora in the US and in England. So we have to think about where we play and how we play, as you say. There's not a lot of netball being played in the US. The US does have a team. They've never made it to a World Cup, and it's mostly, from what I saw at the qualifiers, mostly Caribbean nationals or their, immediate descendants who play in netball. When we go to England, for example, in the England series, the matches this year will be in London. So we expect and hope to get good support from the diaspora in England to come out and support the girls. Of course, that revenue doesn't come to us, but in terms of the expression of support, is somewhere to start. One of the things we've talked about is, maybe we should be playing a game in the US. What kind of, is there a tour that you could do where two of the top teams meet in the US, and then that's where the diaspora support can come in terms of revenue. When we fundraise, we have to find a way to tap into the diaspora. We've done a GoFundMe before. We've got support, but GoFundMe doesn't have quite the right feel for me in terms of how you want to present yourself to the market as a serious sports marketing possibility. So we definitely have some work to do where that is concerned. But we are on the same page as you in some of the comments you just made, because we I remember Simone, the first VP, and I having a conversation about this and saying, how do we get the team to the place where many of their supporters, I mean, our arena here can only hold 3,500 people, right? So if the average stadium in England or in Australia is 10,000, 15,000 people. So if you fill that stadium, you get good revenue from it, and revenue is always a challenge for us. So be able to build out that elite structure behind the team. So what are the new ideas that we can come up with to take the team to the next level, and making sure that they are compensated as well? Because right now it's one of the few teams, cricketers, whether they're doing well or poorly, they're compensated when they play, and they're not playing to get compensated, but when they play, there's some level of compensation that is coming their way. We've been able to do that on a very ad hoc basis for this team that has been so successful. That's number 3 in the world, that the young ladies are playing in clubs at the highest level. So there has to be different things that we can do, and the diaspora is definitely a direction that we will be looking in to see how we can garner that support, because we know they are on our side.
Well, you have full access and full support of the SosoBone Media Network and this platform. My question is, all the various videos that Sportsmax carried, have they been returned to you? Now that they are no longer representing the league.
Right.
And what, because those should be a part of your archive now.
Right.
Okay.
So during the course of the contract with Sportsmax, we really only had one set of home games that they covered. Because by the time we came to the second set, they were, they had some challenges. So actually CVM is who carried, we had to lean on to broadcast the games against South Africa. So yes, that is something that we'll be working with them to have that handover. I mean, for the most part, the games that they carry are uploaded to YouTube. They're there.
Yes, and I saw that, because while you were speaking, I was researching that.
Yes.
And that is where my interest got piqued.
Yes.
I would love to establish a channel for the Jamaica, Netball Jamaica on our
Yeah.
network, I on-demand channel,
Yes.
so that what goes in YouTube is not, it's hanging out there, but
Clip.
it's not bringing you any revenue. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
So that is where my interest is in facilitating. We have an income problem, which you have, which, and a financial problem, and
Yes.
therefore that's a problem that needs to be solved.
Yeah.
So I look at it that once we expose the problem on this platform, then I'm thinking of solutions.
Yes. I mean, definitely broadcasting and digital streaming is an area that we have our eyes on. It took us a while to even get a broadcaster interested, because they had netball in this place that it's small and it's niche, and I think they just didn't understand it. I think the last 2 series kind of opened up a lot of eyes.
Yeah, but one of the problems from my research, with my team, my tech team, I think that digital streaming is overlooked. Live with the digital team is overlooked because of the time zone differences that we have across the world.
Yes.
Okay, because if you're playing in Jamaica, England is at a different time frame.
Yes.
Africa is way in a different, and
So on demand, you're correct.
So forget about live streaming.
Right. I never meant live streaming. I just meant streaming.
I
Yes.
am more interested in, do you have somebody who videotape the games?
Yes.
And having done that now, then they can pass it on to us, so we can set up an on-demand, so people can watch a game across the world.
Yes.
Even outer space, if we have an interest in netball.
Yes, Professor. I hear you, and I'm ready and waiting to have that conversation. I mean, I think about how I follow the Australian League, and the matches. I buy a subscription every year. It's not super expensive, and it gives me access to live and on-demand versions of the game. Because the games play at like 11 p.m. or 1 o'clock in the morning. I can't manage to stay up and watch them. But as soon as I open the next morning, I don't go on social media because I don't want to see who won. So I don't pick up my phone. I go and I plug in and I watch the game on demand at 6, 7 o'clock the next morning. And I'm sure there are many people like me around the world who would want to watch a Sunshine Girls match.
Well, definitely. And I really would love to partner with, our platform, would love to partner with Netball Jamaica in setting up such a channel. Okay, just
we can talk. The Sunshine Girls channel.
Yes, definitely.
I like that. I like the sound of that.
Because I don't know if John has already told you, but when you watch this broadcast that we're doing, when it comes out, you will see commercials popping up between at different times.
Right.
Because our platform is monetized.
Right. Yes.
So your channel would be a monetized channel.
Right.
Okay. And on that basis, then YouTube would issue quarterly reports as to what they do on the channel,
yes.
and what compensation you're entitled to on the channel.
Yes.
And I'm making this very visible to our public, because this platform was set up for our community to enhance the things that we are doing and to provide assistance, okay,
Yes.
and visibility to our community.
Right. So we're on the same page. I mean,
Good.
we haven't been able to spend enough time on the broadcast aspect of it, as I said, because truthfully, last year November was the first time since I've been on the board that we actually had a home game. Right? We had the rights to, right? We had the contract with Sportsmax from 2022. And end of 2024 was the first time we had a game that we could even have that conversation about. And then you know what happened after that. So definitely that is the direction.
Well, if you can release the rights for that game, so we can set up a channel with something that you actually own, let's talk about getting that on the way, okay?
Let's talk.
Okay.
I have one other question for you, Karen. What is the revenue share when you play England in that Vitality series?
So the way it works is that we get 100% of our games and they get 100% of theirs. And then for
Oh, okay.
broadcasting, we share it. So for the
Mm,
revenue
so-
stream for like when it goes on Netball Pass,
Yeah.
we split that equally.
I'm going back to organizing a Super League. Have you
Yes.
ever thought about it and put a dollar figure on an adventure like that?
No, we haven't in terms of taking it to the next level. I mean, obviously we have budgets for the way that we do it now, and we know the way we want to do it. And the last 2 years, the way we wanted to do it, we've ended up having to scale it back because we just didn't get the sponsorship support.
Right.
But to take it to the next level, definitely. So one of the things we are doing now, like we said, the league ended on Sunday. We've already started putting together a leagues review panel that will start work on looking at all our leagues, because when you play in the elite league, it does impact you playing in the major leagues as well. So, and that causes controversy sometimes. But there is a reason why there are pros and cons of the way that it's set up now, the rules that govern them now. So we want to be able to stop and look at all of our leagues, including the elite league, and reset them, taking into account all that's happening in the netball world, in the community, the way leagues are set up, the best practices, the experience that we've had over the last almost 10 years with this league, and see what's the next level we need to take it to. So that committee is being set up, and they're supposed to start their work by the end of August.
On that note, I have to say thank you so much, Madam President Karen Rosen Baugh, for joining John Sports Corner here on this Wednesday afternoon. And certainly, again, Karen, I do wish you all the best in the future. And as Trevor said, you have an ear here. So don't be afraid to call and say XYZ to us. We listen.
I will take you up on that.
And we want to help, as much as we can.
Okay. I thank you. I thank you for the invitation. It's always an easy conversation with you and Trevor. But I enjoyed it, and I will take you up on that. And Trevor, we'll talk about that monetizing or matches or streaming on demand.
Yes.
Definitely is the way to go.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. John, last word on you, John?
That's it for us, Trevor. That's where we put a wrap this afternoon on the John's Sports Corner. And certainly, again, folks, thanks for listening. Thanks for viewing. And remember the great Jamaica Blue Mountain Coffee.